Hello, Beatball World. Welcome back to the Beatball Blues Show. I'm back here joined by my sidekick, the most powerful man in NBBA history, Seth Bam Bam Clark.
How powerful can I be if I'm a sidekick?
I don't know.
Wasn't that make you the
Last
the
week I
truly
didn't.
most?
Last week
most
I didn't say.
Would that make you the truly the most powerful person?
That goes without saying, number one. That goes without saying.
Well, don't blow smoke up my tushy tush. I don't like Don't BS me.
Last week I didn't call you most powerful man in beatball history. You're all upset about it, so I'll try to go back and make you happy, and you're unhappy.
I'm sorry. I'll be the most powerful man in beatball history. It was I was complaining about the term sidekick.
Duly noted. Also going back to last week, gotta give a shout out to our boy Frank Porterhouse. He, after all our build up, him taking over and the new music director, and then he somehow mixed in our end music somewhere in the middle of the show.
We call that what do you call it? Poetic license, man. He's the boss now. He can put music wherever he wants, right? You gave him the title, man. Now you're gonna second guess him, man. Come on now.
I'm not second guessing. I didn't trip at all. When I get the show back from him, before I put it up on YouTube, I scan through it to make sure that the beginning's what I expected and the end is what I expected, because we can't go all the way in, but we had one show where at the very end I hit Alt Q instead of Alt P, so the recording didn't stop. And then we stayed on and chit-chatted in a way that wouldn't have been appropriate for everybody to hear after that. And Frank didn't catch that wasn't part of the show. And I didn't catch the end, that there's an extra 20 minutes of chit-chat between us and our guests. And so, I had to send it back to him and have it redone. So I always scan to the end now to make sure that the ending is right. And as I was scanning through it, I did hear some music, but I'd forgotten all about it until he sent me a message. Nobody was more upset about it than Frank himself. So I thought it was funny. So, we can only go up from here. So.
Unfortunately, Neil Dog, I was so busy last week, I did not get a chance to listen to the show. So,
outside of my scan, that's all I heard too. So I forgot that I heard music mixed in there somewhere. But Mr. Porter will be joining us next week on the big Christmas finale to 2020. But we will get on to that next week. This week, we are featuring a couple players from the Boston Renegades, one of the big teams from the East Coast. First, we'll dive in a little deeper, but I'll bring you each in real quick. First, we have the 2019 Offensive All-Star, Shawn Devenish. Welcome to the show, Shawn.
Thanks, Neil. How we doing?
Doing good. Appreciate you coming on. We're going to dive into your career, find out a little bit more about you, what got you to beatball, but we also need to bring in your teammate, one of the original Renegades, a 2012 defensive MVP, Guy Zuccarello. Welcome to the show, Guy.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
That name was almost too long. I about ran out of breath getting out all those guys.
You did a great job with it.
Just happy to have gotten it out right, as badly as I butchered names at times. So let's start out with you, Shawn. Since you're newer, what brought you to the game of beep baseball? How did you find out about the game?
Well, number one, I've always been an athlete. I played football in high school. I wrestled. I ran track, and I went to college and played some intramural sports there and everything. And then when I got out of college, I was looking for something to do. And as a visually impaired person, not much going on. I kind of live on the outskirts of Boston, way up north towards New Hampshire, and just did some creative Googling and actually stumbled upon the Association of Blind Citizens Boston Renegades page and
Okay.
saw somebody I knew on it and reached out and ended up at a practice, and all of a sudden, I joined the team in 2016 and I've been hooked ever since.
Hold on real quick. So when did you become visually impaired? You played all those sports in high school. Were you visually impaired at that point?
Yeah, I've been visually impaired my whole life. I have RP and had it since birth. And yeah, I played football and all that with RP and everything.
What position were you? What position did you
I was an offensive lineman, defensive lineman, a little bit of outside linebacker. I was actually a halfway decent pass rusher, so I could rush the passer pretty well. And my team, we were good. I was probably the worst player on the team, but I played, so that's all that mattered.
What has your sight decreased since then a little bit, or were you about to say now you just overcame it?
It's decreased maybe a little bit since high school, but it's just about the same. I just kind of worked through it. I thankfully had great coaches and everything who just said, yeah, you can play, get after it. I was never, never babied or anything in any way. I took the same amount of lumps that everybody else did, if not more.
Playing on the line a lot. Do you have pretty good size?
I'm 6'2". Back then I was about 180 pounds. Now I'm closer to 200. But I was a smaller lineman for us. I was always pretty fast for a lineman, so I had pretty good footwork compared to some of the other big guys that were out there.
Right. What about you, Guy? What got you into beep ball? And I'd kind of like to hear too, because I know you started with the team and then were away for a little while and came back.
Sure.
What's your story?
So back in 2001, maybe late 2000 actually, or 2001, I heard some, rumors about the sport of beep baseball in general, and thought it sounded pretty cool, but I didn't think there was anything up in the Boston area at that point in time. And then our state agency for the blind, the Mass Commission for the Blind, this is how long ago it was, right? Because it's before finding a lot of information on the internet. They had a telephone information tape. They'd update on a weekly basis with different announcements in the blindness community. So I was checking that out one Friday when they did the update, and there was this announcement about, as Shawn mentioned, the Association of Blind Citizens was this new organization, and apparently one of their objectives was to provide more recreational, maybe not the right word, but like opportunities for sports and recreational activities for people with vision loss. And it's one of the things they were trying to start up was a beep baseball team, and they were just having sort of anyone interested casually, come to this park in Cleveland Circle and Brookline, and it just started from there. So a small group began just to come together and sort of figure this thing out. And before we had participated in any of the NBBA games or anything like that, so we were truly learning from scratch. And and then it grew from there. Some of the players wanted to just kind of come and for one particular Saturday and hang out and play, and then other players were enjoying it and wanted to become more competitive, and decided in 2002 we would participate in the World Series, and just it sort of built from there.
It seems to be a kind of a common theme. The Millers talked about that last week, and I know a lot of teams kind of go through that. You know what I mean? I think teams in a way start out like, oh, it's cool, let's just get out and figure this out, and then they start to learn a little bit about it. It's like, oh, you know what? Well, let's build something bigger.
Yeah, well, that was it, and we got hooked. And before, like, going to the World Series, we would we'd play some game. We'd end up playing a couple double headers with the Long Island Bombers, and they were more established at that point in time. So we started to learn a lot from them because, at the beginning, we're just playing scrimmages with ourselves. And, it's a certain level of, a ball gets put in play and you're like, oh, wow. All right. That's, there's a lot of swinging and missing in the beginning. And then we go to play Long Island and they're, more similar to, the teams you'll find, in the series. And it's like, whoa, okay. So there's another level to get to. And, they, set that example. So it was like, all right, let's want to try to improve and see what we can do. And again, like, then sort of as you improve, you feed off of that. Well, we want to take this further, and those who did, sort of redoubled their efforts and try to become more organized, start figuring out, what drills do we need to do, what skills do we need to build up,
how do we improve?
How do the teams that have been doing this a long time do it?
Right.
Interestingly, though, you guys actually did make a huge jump, right? You guys were in the championship game,
right? Not in the 2015.
Yeah.
2015.
2016. Yeah, in Ames.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did, and I think I was talking to Coach Rob about this in preparation, and he, according to his records, he's got a lot of them. That he thinks that we're the only team who went from having only one victory in our first year at the World Series to make it to the championship game. So that's something we're very proud of, is coming, from a total grassroots type of organization to make it to the championship game. That even though we didn't win it, we feel like it was a pretty big achievement to climb the ladder. Took, definitely 14 years, but,
you did eventually climb the ladder, though.
We did it, but
it was the only way. It was the only way the MBBA is ever going to get you guys at a banquet. Boston was always pretty notorious for, as soon as they were knocked out of the tournament, heading back home or whatever. So you guys were rarely ever around for the big Saturday night party. So once you got to the championship game, you had to stay.
Yeah.
For the record, that was my rookie year. So.
The difference maker. The answer.
That's true. Maybe Shawn can stories he could tell us about some of the first game action he got in the field in 2016.
Real quick, still on you, Guy. When you left for a while, was it like college or something, or no, I'm a little older than that. So when I started, I was in my later 20s, and we had a baby in 2000.
Oh yeah.
So I was like, well, all right, I got a young infant at home, so I took that year off, and then it turned into a couple more years, unfortunately. So from 2003, 4, and 5, I was doing the Mr. Mom thing, and came back in 2006.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I don't know if you moved to a different place in the house or something, but our connection with you isn't as strong as it was. So I'm not sure. Oh, there you go. You sound perfect right there.
Is that better? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you
go. Shawn, go back to you for a little bit. You're a newer player. You made the offensive all-star team in 2019. Talk about what are some of your favorite parts of the game? What sticks out to you the most since having started played a few years back?
Well, what sticks out to me is the competition level. I was. When I first really got interested, I didn't do too much reading about it. I just, said, oh, there's a team. Maybe I'll see if I can join. And I'm like I said, very competitive. I was thinking it was just going to be, I was thinking beer league softball, that kind of stuff. But
right.
When I really got introduced, when Coach Weitzman really introduced me to it, I was like, oh man, he's like, we travel all over the country, go to the World Series, all these things. And I was like, oh wow, we really got to get into this, and how many teams there are. I didn't think it was this widespread. I'd never heard of it until I just stumbled upon it, and just the sheer competition level was really staggering to me. I didn't know, again, how big of a game it was, and then just the quality of athlete that is on the field at some of these tournaments, and it's just incredible.
How's the defensive side of your game coming along?
They call me defensive-ish.
A little play from the last name Devenish.
Yeah, a little bit. We work really hard, and that's, I obviously, and they say if you see better, you have a little bit of vision, because I do have a little bit, and I've seen somebody swing a bat, so that comes a little more naturally than the defense.
Yeah.
So and I also played Little League, not well when I was a kid, but and so
we talked about it a lot on the show in general when talking about hitting. There, you could see a difference between somebody swinging that's been a total their whole life and somebody that had eyesight. Like Seth and I both had eyesight, long enough to where we learned kind of a natural swing or whatever. People aren't born with natural swings. You know what I mean? It's a learned thing. So it definitely gave you an advantage, like it did, Seth and I or others that have a little bit of. Although,
so your first World Series was, you guys went to the championship game?
That's right. Yeah.
How did you do? Did you play? What was that?
I was the DH for most of it. Most of it, yeah, I'd say, and I did pretty well. I was in the lineup for the championship game.
Any moments that stand out from you from your little championship run, your championship run,
your little baby championship run?
I mean, one of the things that stood out was, our coach talked to us about, talked to me specifically about, okay, we're going to the World Series. You expect, here's what you can expect, and then we just went on this amazing run, and we just kept winning and winning and winning, and I remember asking, I think I even asked Guy, I'm like, is it always like this?
Yeah, we have to tell him no.
And Guy goes, no, it is not. But just being thrown into everything, and just I've always been a dive headfirst into everything, so I was ready for it, ready for something, but I wasn't ready for that kind of run.
A thought I had going back to us talking about like the hitting, and with you having sight, it being a natural thing, but something I've seen with high partials or partials in general at times is that even though they have a natural swing, once you put the blindfold on them, their swing goes away. Like, you know what I mean? It takes did it take you a while to adjust playing blindfolded?
It took, I'd say, about 2 weeks of practice. It really took to adjust, but I wrestled, I always wrestled with my eyes closed. That was just one thing I always did, so I was always pretty used to it. It was an adjustment. The hardest part was adjusting to running full speed blindfolded towards the base, but that it took a while. I went over one base and twisted my wrist up pretty good in a game against Long Island, and that was my okay, you really gotta learn how to run here, and it's different than just sprinting.
Seth and I have been in agreement about this for years and years. I mean, the hitting that base is the most dangerous part of our game, because sometimes you just hit it awkwardly. You're going to land on the ground awkwardly. You can, the worst injury, I dislocated my shoulder not running to base, but outside of that, the worst injury I had playing beep ball was just from getting tangled up on the base and getting thrown onto the ground or whatever. It's the hitting that base, you just never know. Anybody that's done it enough, you know more or less you're gonna be all right, but that possibility of a really bad base fall is always out there.
The football background definitely helped with that.
Right.
I like to tackle things.
So, Guy, man, let's talk about you on the defensive side a little bit. You're a former defensive MVP. I'm envious of that. I thought defense was my game, but I'd never pulled out the defensive MVP. Where do you play on the field, and what got you to where you are defensively?
So I've played all over the place, certainly. And it sort of depended on what our roster was like at that any particular point in time. So when I won the defensive MVP, it was I moved up to the left short position.
Okay.
It was the year after one of our best defensive players had moved away, Justin Canton. He's been on several defensive all-star teams as well.
That name.
Yeah, he's tremendous. Probably has the best hand-ear coordination that of any player who's played with us defensively, and so we need to fill his shoes, and I was, I guess, the next man up, as they say, and so I got the opportunity, and I like that spot. I like sort of being that first line, being closest to the pitcher and batter. It's just you can hear very well. One of my strengths has always been kind of going to the ball that stopped moving and picking it up. I'm smaller in stature, so when you play deeper in the field and you lay out, it's helpful to be taller and cover more ground. That's not my physical blessing, so it's a little easier for me to come in and move around. Although, like I said, I've played everywhere, and when Justin has been on the team and he's had that position, I've kicked over to the right side and played the short position. I've played midfield, which I like a lot because being in the center of things. And I also feel like one of my strengths defensively is communication, and that's one of the things as a team that we've just built over many years. Just strength in communicating with each other as players and making that sort of clear, concise, and brief communication, whereas it was kind of like in the beginning, I recall the days of just chaos once the ball was hit, to now everyone knowing where your teammates are and giving just the right amount of information and helping out. That it can make such a big difference in making the play as a team, as opposed to when it gets past that first or second layer and giving the third layer a shot to make the play, that kind of thing.
Right.
So I enjoy defense quite a bit.
Seth and I both have commented to each other about something your team is pretty well known for. You like, you guys have like a lot of songs and cheers and stuff that you guys.
Hold on. I was going to take this actually in a different sort of way, right? I mean, because like I told you guys that hopefully you guys have some toughness and stuff, right? Out of all the teams we've brought on here that I've been a part of, I haven't been, let's say, as competitive with as many as I have with you, right? The Heat and Boston have played 3 of the last 6 years in the losers bracket on Friday. So we've eliminated each other. 19, you guys eliminated us. 15, we eliminated you. 14, we eliminated you, I believe it was, or something like that. Maybe.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yep.
And I have always found you guys to be obnoxious. Okay.
Thank you.
With all your songs, right? With all your songs and all this and that, right? And one thing, as the Dogs, we had our songs, and I think actually cheering and stuff is really important, especially in a blind sport, because it's kind of how we,
it's the only way you can make the other team feel you a little.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. There's like that intimidation thing or whatever, you gotta feel it and stuff. And so I've always kind of been like, irritated by your, you guys have been obnoxious. It's irritated me on a level. But, one of our songs for the Dogs was always "Stand Up" by Ludacris.
That's where I was kind of going also.
But every time you guys say that song, I gotta laugh and say, okay, that sounds good or whatever. You guys really, really do it well, right? You do it well. Go ahead.
And we,
Go ahead, guy.
it's all so it's meant for team building. I'll say that. And when a new player comes on, we call them our calling cards. So what the songs are meant for each, obviously they're for the person who's at bat. And yeah, it's not. We've got other cheers too for like when we score, and it's funny because it's sort of a split, feeling amongst some of the coaches who are like, my daughter's softball team does these, so we really have to do these, But both the other coaches are like, no, it's an energy thing, and in some games, after the third game of the day, team's tired, but it's sort of a gauge of how much energy we have if we're bringing it with the calling cards and cheering for our teammates. If we're fully into it, it keeps us sharp and keeps us into it. But to get back to the team building thing, getting to know each other, a new player, like, what can we use for a calling card? Some of them might be a play on the person's name, which I think is the ludicrous one, because I think that one's faxes, right? That's the when I move, you move, right?
You move just like fax, yeah.
So that's just like fax, and
just Larry, like fax, okay.
Just like fax, yeah. So
yeah.
That's
so
where
that comes up at the plate or whatever. Is that
when
yeah, I remember being in the field kind of having to stop myself from dancing when you guys did that. It's like, all right, get yourself, Seth. Come on now. Not the dogs, man. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
No worries. It's happened where we've had other players finish the cheer. They'll do the call and response. We've had other teams in the field give the response along with the rest of our team.
It sounds like it's all really organic, though. Like you got somebody doesn't show up and go, "Oh, I think we'd sound cool singing this." It kind of pops up from something that comes up with the team or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, our favorite one, and this guy, his name is Rob Thayer. He's a great guy. He's one of our bench players. He's been playing for since 2009, I want to say.
Does he have a girlfriend named Leslie? Do you know? I think that might be the Rob you were asking me about. So
he might. I'm not sure of her name. I mean, I know.
I'm sorry. I just drugged the show down a rabbit hole. It just Seth had just asked me because we have a friend named Leslie who has a boyfriend named Rob that plays on your team. And he had just asked me, it's like, is that Coach? Is that Leslie's boyfriend? I was like, no, that's a different Rob. So
yeah, not a different Rob. I can confirm that it's not Coach. I cannot confirm or deny if it's Rob Thayer.
Fair enough. But go ahead with your story. I'm sorry. That's all my bad.
All right.
And you're getting into the man's business and stuff like that. Like, come on, man.
I'm not getting anyone.
This guy's not even on the show. He's sitting at home like, what the hell?
What are you talking about, man? Come on now. All right, but go ahead. You were saying about him.
Yeah, I might have to text them now saying, Frank, edit this part out.
So your favorite one.
So he's just a great guy. And it became a thing where we go to regional tournaments. We get to a hotel, and the first thing he asked about, like, does the hotel have a pool? Does it have a hot tub? Does it have a jacuzzi? Does it have a hot tub? And no matter what, like, come back from practice, the first place he went, he's in the hot tub. And we laugh like, gee, you're constantly in that hot tub. And it became a thing that, like, oh, that should be his calling card. So that starts out where, like, the coach will yell rub-a-dub-dub, and we all just like scream hot tub. It's totally organic. And he's just got
that's how he's in my phone contacts. It's hot tub, by the way.
Yeah, he's hot tub. He's not since 2000 and I guess maybe 10, because it was not his first year that came up. Since then, no one. If I say Rob Thayer, people might not know who it is. So like, oh, hot tub. That's hot tub.
Yeah, right.
That's not only his calling card; it's his name.
That's hilarious.
But it's that kind of team building stuff that was really where it comes from. But if we're loud and we get in other teams' heads, then it's a little side benefit.
I believe me, that's where we came from. I mean, I loved it when Seth brought it up, called it obnoxious, and Shawn was like, "Thank you," because when we were the dogs, and Seth and I were the two vocal leaders, leading the way with any nonsense we did, whatever it was. If anybody called us obnoxious, too loud, whatever, my answer was always thank you.
It's working, right? It's working.
Very proud to be the captain of the most obnoxious team, maybe in
Yep. And we do hit a point where if it's getting one-sided, then we tone it down, because we don't want to be horribly unsportsmanlike.
Well,
let me just finish that though. The taunting rule that is in the NBBA, no taunting rule, that was because we took it too far. it literally, that's not made up. Yeah, that
really
is a rule because Seth and I made it too one-sided.
took it too far. We used to not just have to cheer at each other. We used to be able to communicate with each other, but that game kind of ended that.
I see.
But now it's a cheering thing. But playing you guys in, I believe it was Rochester, Minnesota. You guys really, a game we had really kind of showed me how much beep ball really is just a regular, normal sport, right? It's a regular, normal sport. It's a Friday, right? We're scheduled to play Boston in the morning, right? We have injuries. Blake Boudreau's hurt, and we pull you guys. And the idea was, this is a walkover, right? Boston's no good. Boston's a walkover because you guys used to be not be very good. Let's say you guys used to be a walkover, right? So we go into it, and I've always had kind of a something I would always say to Neil: overconfidence is a killer, right? Especially in sports, overconfidence is just an absolute killer. And we decide that we can bench Blake Boudreau and let him rest and let some, we kind of take it a little lightly on Friday morning, getting ready for stiffer competition on Friday afternoon. But we start to play you guys, and you guys just absolutely bring it. And what always sticks out in my mind is your songs, your cheers. You guys were, and I played in right field, and you guys were on the first base side, so I would constantly hear you guys, cheering, and as somebody goes up to bay or to bat, you guys are making comments. You know what I'm saying? You guys are just fired up and kicking our asses, right? I mean, just, and there's nothing we can do. We are as flat gets. You guys are as high gets. And then a controversy happens with me or whatever. The details aren't important, but it was basically you guys tried to call me out at home plate because I was batting out of order. And I wasn't batting out of order. It was the plan. But it got me all mad, and I scored, and I got all fired up and started yelling at you guys, and then the Heat started getting all fired up and yelling, and we started cheering, and you guys never cheered one more time that entire game, and you lost. From that moment, the emotion totally changed, and I had never seen it in a beep ball game change so dramatically. And what I always stuck out to me was hearing you guys cheer as much as you did, and then it just stopped, right? It just stopped, and it showed me how much beep ball is even though it's like baseball, and even though it's not as emotional of a sport as other sports are, football, basketball, or whatever, it showed me how important all that emotion was, right? You guys lost your emotion, you lost your game. If you guys could have kept the emotion going, you guys would have won that game. And it was one of, as I look back on my own beep ball career, all 30-something years of it, that game always sticks out in my mind as like the quintessential demonstration of how emotion decides games. And it was your guys, all those cheering and all that stuff, and being able to listen to you, and then just seeing the change. I mean, not that there was anything critical of you guys, we all lose and stuff like that, but it's always been something that has blown me away, or it just that game and stuff like that. So I've always hated your cheers, but appreciated them because I can tell what they do for you guys, right? They bring
they do a lot. They definitely do. And in that game was a pivotal game in our progression for sure. It's in Beep, Dave Wanchek's book, and he breaks it down quite a bit in great detail. And it was a pivotal point for us. It was a really important teaching game for us. One of our more frustrating losses for sure. You talk about your mindset that Friday morning, and we came in that with the sort of the underdog, nothing to lose mentality. And we came with the mentality like, they don't respect us, and let's show them. We have nothing to lose. Let's show them what we can do. And in the past, prior to that year, we sort of come into the loser bracket Friday morning game like a little wound up and tense and trying too hard, trying to do too much. And, that's when you start overrunning balls on defense. And in that game, we were more relaxed about it and got off to, the fast start that you're talking about. And of course, as that built, our energy got greater and greater, and you heard those cheers louder and louder. And, I feel like there were several things that sort of that flipped the switch. We forced you guys to bring in Blake, and
yes, you did.
We weren't as developed at that point to start having some of our batters, go the other way or to move away from him. And I think he ended up getting like 7 or 8 putouts from the third or fourth inning on. He started shutting us down on that left side of the field. That was, and then you guys, and it could have been lineup choices that you made at the beginning of the game, but you were hitting the ball, but you weren't, hitting the ball. And Fonzie got locked in, or some lineup changes made. You got locked in, like you said, because of the controversy or whatever triggered your emotion, and then you started bringing it, and I think it might have been the 4th inning, and it was on after that. And we, I feel like we got quieter. I wouldn't say we didn't cheer at all, because we came back and you guys pulled ahead, but we did rally. We had in our last at bat, we were only 1 or 2 runs down, and to be that close, I'm sure we were teed up to tie it and take it further. But but that was a big teachable game about some of it is just like beep ball, you're going to give up runs, and not to get too down on yourself once. It's like they talk about the NBA. Basketball teams, every team makes a run at some point in the game, and it's like that, especially based on faster field conditions. It can be like that, in beep ball, where any of these top pitchers, they're going to take their team on a run, and they might have a big inning, and that's okay, because we've got the bats to sort of compete with that, so not to get mentally down when we talk a lot about mental toughness. Some of it is tied into those cheers, and some of it is tied into like what we're doing, what we're thinking about when we're in the field, we're at the plate, and on deck, on the bench, all of it. And that was a game that taught us a lot about mental toughness, and where we're at mentally in the first part of the game, and in the second half, and how that went. So
it's funny that you made the the comparison to the NBA, because I've always because with every run being a hit or a run or an out, and every hit in beep ball being a run or an out, I personally always kind of compared it more to basketball from the standpoint of like basketball is a game of runs. And the team that has the best run at the end is usually the one that's going to win. And
it's so true.
Beep ball is a lot like that. And pitchers, are a lot like those streaky shooters. You know what I mean? Like you mentioned, like I was thinking that about Fonzie while you were just mentioning and how like when he gets in that zone, he's a Hall of Fame pitcher. You know what I mean? But
no doubt,
it's kind of streaky like a shooter. Like it comes and goes. But man, when it comes, like everything's going in the net with it.
Right.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. Yeah.
I want to ask you guys about the Beast in the East tournament a little bit, just because I don't feel like that tournament is as well known as, like, say, the Indy tournament or the Chicago tournament. I know I don't know as much about it. Who are the teams that usually play in the Beast in that tournament, the Beast in the East? And tell us a little more about it, because doesn't it move around a little bit? Like, go.
Yeah, sure. So it's how, Shawn, you want me to jump on this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right. So it started in 2010. Our coach Rob and Greg Gunterick in Philly and Ted Fass and Jim Hughes were both with Long Island at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Initiated this tournament to get some more consistency to the teams in the East Coast getting together and playing one another, and to try in a group effort to build the sport in our region. And so how it works currently, and it started out with 16, well, I shouldn't say started out, but it has grown to being a 16 tournament. And it's ourselves, the Bombers, Philly, and I think that time they might have been the Wolf Pack, and then they morphed into the Fire.
Right.
The Lightning, and then the Titans.
Tighten up!
Spawned out of that.
Tighten up!
Yep.
That's our boys.
And Rochester came and participated.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Toronto came in 2019.
Toronto came in 2019 because I think Rochester had finance issues and couldn't make it, so they replaced them.
I love Toronto's name, the Blind Jays.
The Blind Jays.
Great team name.
Team name. I love that.
They're a lot of fun. So then what would happen, we'll have two tournaments, two sub-tournaments as part of the overall tournament. So we'll play twice, and it rotates as to what cities host it over the course of 3 years.
Right.
And so that way every team is guaranteed to host some games over at some point in the 3 years. So
it does move around.
It does move around, yeah.
Okay.
And then we'll do a cumulative winner from the 6 games played over the two weekends.
Uh-huh.
If that makes sense. So say Boston and Philly host 1 year, and then the official Beast of the East winner is the one who's done the best over those six games, and then they'll rotate it the next year to. And we've had years where the team that was supposed to host it just couldn't for whatever reason, any number of logistical reasons, so someone else has picked up the ball. But it's really helped to build the game in our area and increase the overall competition. And I think seeing the rise from the Titans in particular, they've it's great. It's great to have more high level competition in our region, and we've seen more players and new and younger players sort of come onto these teams, which is what it was all about. And we emphasized, especially in the beginning, that everyone made a commitment to having players from their region play, and that was part of one of the objectives, as I said. So rather than say we're going to have this tournament and then they fly in people from other teams and it becomes this all-star thing,
right.
That's fine. It has its place, but with one of the objectives of this thing being to grow the game in our area, that we wanted to kind of hold off on that. Yeah.
Get the people in that area playing games that aren't World Series games. Yeah. Makes sense.
Exactly. Yeah.
I love the sound we got out of Shawn when you're like, Shawn, you want me to take this? It's like a ball got by him. It's like, by me. Yeah, you got it.
Yeah,
So,
you take it.
oh, yours.
Well, I
He's
just
old. He
talked a
knows
while
more than
on
I
the
do.
previous clip.
Right. You have anything more for these gentlemen, Seth Dog, before we?
No, I had been hoping that my two youngest would come by. They're upstairs, but you know, because after, like, I don't even know which World Series it was, not too long ago. All they did after the tournament was walk around and say, 2 claps and a Ric Flair. And so I was going to have them do 2 claps and a Ric Flair. They have no idea who Ric Flair is. They're only
I know.
11 and 9, but you know, it was something that they picked up on and they liked. So we did.
I'll tell you, after
Catchy,
some of these
right?
tournaments, we can't get them out of our heads.
Yeah.
So.
I don't even know who it was. I mean, it's kind of the same thing. I don't even know who it was. It was a New York player, and I came across one of her tweets during the World Series. And she's like, when I'm laying in my bed at the hotel room and I still hear balls beeping. Like, that's what it's like. We hear around the World Series, you hear that ball beeping so much that it doesn't leave your head.
It's really true. That's 100%.
My fiance came to her first tournament, and she's like, "How do you get that sound in you?" You really don't.
We're like the people that work at McDonald's. It's part of us now.
Exactly.
Well, you guys should know then that the Boston Renegades songs ring through our ears, even though we're not at the World Series.
I'm glad to hear it.
Well, you know, Neil Dog,
Yeah.
if I retire and I never play again, my last run and my last out were scored against the Boston Renegades. They happened against the Boston Renegades.
Wow.
Right there. History.
Oh.
Not like I was playing, you know, I was, coming off the bench DH'er, but that would be at some point a trivia question.
That could be for a future Jeopardy.
Beep baseball.
That's right.
Jeopardy, exactly.
Yeah,
and I would say, no team seems to put more real effort. At least I'm tracking you guys as, shifting and stuff like that. You guys seem to put a lot of effort into your defense. So keep going on with that. Yeah, I mean, it's always. I would just say you guys don't need 2 short people. Right? If you have somebody who can go pick a ball up that has already stopped, just let them do it. Put them in the middle and then let them go, right? But I'm just saying, I've told every team.
It's not against you guys. This is his.
Yes.
No.
I mean, as you guys try to get better. We're gonna say.
I think with any team, just speaking generally, like I think what good teams do is, you play to the strengths of your personnel, and then also to, depending on what your opponent's doing, right? You need to, target what their strengths are, and
need to be able to make adjustments.
Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, need to be able to make adjustments, but also, I mean, knowing how to maximize your own player's strengths is huge, and so, that's a basis for a lot of the planning and decision.
Hey, I'm just trying to get somebody to knock off the Thunder, man. That's all, man. I'm just trying to nudge anybody towards knocking off the Thunder, man. That's all.
That's going to be a tall task.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that is a tall task.
Yes.
Well,
good.
fellas,
It's good, but the bar is set high.
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much for coming on, sharing some Renegade stories. You had us laughing. We loved hearing the song stories, and it's good to get to know you guys a little bit and learn a little bit more about the Renegades. So appreciate you guys coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Definitely.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having us, and good to chat with you guys some more. Names that I've seen for years, and I've shaken your hand and handshake lines, but it's not really gotten to speak with you for an extended period of time. So it's nice to get a little more of the personality.
Yeah, you guys are a lot nicer than I assumed you guys would be. Your obnoxious cheers that you guys incessantly said. So, you guys are a lot nicer.
I was an offensive lineman. I can't be too nice.
But Bam Bam was exactly what you guys came on expecting. The man with the hammer.
Well, now Rob's not dumb. He had the two nicest guys come on the show.
That's good. I could tell you from a month of trying to get a couple players from Rob that the message coming out of your team is very important to him. So hope we did your team proud this week.
Yes.
Oh, for sure. This is fun,
Yeah,
and so it's really cool. As I said, before we started, that it's very cool that you're doing this, and especially this year, definitely kind of filled for us. We didn't get to play much at all, filled a little bit of that void of that sort of scratched that itch of having some beat ball in my life, and listening to the story. I learned a lot, as I was saying, about some of the older stuff that I hadn't known, and it's always cool to hear, from newer players and teams and things that you don't always get a chance to catch up with people, at the end of the game or before playing. So you get to know them a little more, and that's all. I think that's great.
No, I appreciate you saying that. It's fun for Seth. I mean, literally, Seth and I are getting to know like people like you guys, just like the audience is in a way. Really, you know what I mean? It's kind of twofold. It's like when people ask me what's it gonna be about, it's like we'll get to know you while the audience gets to know you. So
I have met more people in the NBBA over on this show than I have at the last 5-6 years.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
Definitely, like Guy said, it's good to get that itch scratched. Since we had such a good run in 2019, it's definitely good to get that itch scratched, and for the game we really love, and just having.
Did you guys make it to the championship game that year in 2019? No.
Unfortunately, no. We lost to the San Antonio in that night game.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Oh, that was a long day. I'll tell you what.
Yes, playing under the lights.
That was so, man. I was up at like 5 a.m. that morning. I didn't get to bed probably till about midnight, and it was just brutal.
All right, before we dive too deep into reminiscing the sad times, so I'm going to sign us out of here. We have one more show left of 2020. That'll be our big Christmas show. I have Frank the Tank Porterhouse with us and a whole bunch of others. So we will catch you next week. Good night, Aunt Cindy.